What is coming ahead for the Memphis Grizzlies offseason? That is what we're going to be talking about in this video. And they have one of the more interesting roster combinations and roster scenarios going into an offseason I think I've ever seen in the league. Everyone, and I mean quite literally everyone that was in their rotation last year, is under contract and under team control for next season. Quite literally everyone. Justice Winslow was under a team option, and even he wasn't a big part of the rotation. Everything else is locked in, guaranteed contracts for this Memphis Grizzlies roster. And so it's going to be interesting to see how little or how many moves they make this summer. They could make some trades. They do have a bit of cap space. They are currently sitting at $98 million in committed payroll. But this is a team that is going to have to start extending some players for the next couple of years. John Morant is a couple of years away from an extension. Dillon Brooks is a couple of years away from an extension. JV's contract runs up in a year, as well as Jaren Jackson Jr. needing a contract extension in a year as well. And so this year, they have some flexibility while having their full roster coming back. But they have to start thinking about the next year or two and how they're going to distribute this money, who they want to commit to long term on this team, and who they want to move on from. And that could result in some trades within Memphis in the next year or two. And that is what we're going to be talking about specifically in today's video as we cover what's next for the Memphis Grizzlies. Let's get right into it and see what they could potentially do this offseason. More specifically, this is the contract scenario of their key players moving through the next few seasons. JV is only signed for one more year at $14 million. Dillon Brooks for two more at $12.2 and $11.4. Kyle Anderson only for one more year at $10 million. John Morant for two more years at $9.6 and then a team option of $12. And then also Jaren Jackson Jr. now only has one more year at $9 million for the 21-22 season. And so moving on from there, they are going to have to make some decisions about who they want to keep on this roster because simply they do not have the money to retain everyone. JV is probably going to demand $15+ million again, which is about what he's making right now. But Dillon Brooks is going to get a significant pay raise from his $12 to $11 million. John Morant, was definitely going to get a big pay raise from his $10 to $12 million as well. And Jaren Jackson Jr. is also going to want a nice upgrade in salary. Not to mention the fact that Brandon Clark in 2 years' time is going to be making $4.3 million. And then after that, it's going to be a restricted free agent. Grayson Allen only has one more year, and he's only making $4 million. And then further down the line, you have the likes of Desmond Bane. He's only going to be making $4 million in his fourth year of his deal. They have some real decisions here. They've drafted extremely well. They've found talent very well. They've developed talent very well, and full kudos to them. But now they're going to have to decide which talent they want to keep and which talent they want to trade to fit other pieces around their team, to maybe acquire some different fitting pieces, maybe acquire another star to put alongside John Morant. Something along that, packaging along some first-round picks might have to be where the Grizzlies focus because they simply just can't retain everyone. This is a summer and the start of the season for Memphis where they have to decide who they think the core group of this team is. And they're young. Everyone is young. The oldest player on the team is JV at 29. I often think JV is older, but he just came into the league very young. JV is still only 29. John Morant is 21. Dillon Brooks is 25. Kyle Anderson is 27. This is a very young team. And in my opinion, if they have to start choosing the building blocks of this team, I think JV has proven that he is the leader of this team. His interior defense, his presence down in the post as one of the few old school true bigs in the league is very impactful. I think he's earned the right to probably be retained if he can come back at the right price, around $15 million. If that's pay anything more for him, then I don't think they bring him back. But I think he would be very impactful. I think Dillon Brooks, in my opinion, is, alongside John Morant, the most exciting player on this team. And as I will be discussing in a video later this summer, Dillon Brooks seems very eerily similar to me in his demeanor, play style, and the path and trajectory of his development throughout his career in the first couple of years of his career to Jimmy Butler. Does anyone else get Jimmy Butler vibes from Dillon Brooks? Very vocal, tenacious, defensively aggressive, speaks his mind, picks up a lot of fouls. It started as not that great of an offensive player, but has turned into someone, especially in the playoffs, now this season, that commanded the ball, wanted the ball, became a leader, was vocal, and scored a lot of buckets, and a lot of important buckets for this Memphis Grizzlies team. I'm just saying, we might have another Jimmy Butler here in Dillon Brooks, and he's still only 25 and improving year in, year out. And so Dillon Brooks has to be retained. Of course, John Morant has to be retained. And they probably look to retain Jaren Jackson Jr. if he can stay healthy next season and get back to some of the production we saw earlier on in his career. That is the core 4 guys, in my opinion, that you probably look to build around. And after that, you probably look to see what you can package together to add another star. You have Kyle Anderson. You have Justice Winslow if they pick up the team option on him next year. They also have the likes of DeAndre Melton / Tyus Jones. One of them probably gets moved because having one of them as a 3rd string point guard just does not make sense. They also have a bit of a surplus at power forward right now with Jaren Jackson Jr., Brandon Clark, and Xavier Tillman. And so they need to decide what power forwards they want to move with going forward, and one of those probably get flipped. Those are some of the potential players that I could see moved off the roster this summer. And so I don't know if they're going to package that with a couple of firsts and get a star, or if they're going to package that and try and get some picks. I would highly suggest the Memphis Grizzlies try and package a few of these players that they don't see being their core pieces long term, and they try and package them together, throw in a couple of first-round picks, and try and add a legit star alongside John Morant, alongside Dillon Brooks. And maybe that means you have to trade Jaren Jackson Jr., and I think if you do, I think that's fine. I think if you start Xavier Tillman or Brandon Clark at the 4 for the time being, that's not an issue. It probably makes the financial scenario a little bit easier. And if you can add a legit star alongside Dillon Brooks and John Morant, this Memphis team is legit moving forward. They're already a very good defensive team. They were a top 10 defensive team last season and an average team offensively, one of the highest paces in the league. They force a lot of and create a lot of turnovers on the defensive end. This is just a very well-rounded, high-energy, well-coached, well-structured team. I love what they have here in Memphis. They have their own first-round pick this year as well, so that can be used in a trade, or it can be used. It's going to be just outside the lottery. They could definitely get a good player from that pick as well. It's going to be a fairly deep draft, so they can use that to add more talent to this roster, get them another trade piece moving forward. I think the best thing for Memphis is they have a bit of cap flexibility. They have everyone under contract coming into this year. Their roster is set. They're going to be able to bring everyone back if they want. And they have the possibility to make some trades to make this Memphis team very, very strong, and maybe make this Memphis team even better than the Zach Randolph, Marc Gasol, Mike Conley days back when they had their best success in recent years. That being said, let me know what you guys think about the Memphis Grizzlies moving forward. Some of the moves that they should or could potentially make this offseason, and who the core pieces are that you would build around this team moving forward. I think it's going to be a very exciting next couple of years for the Memphis Grizzlies, and I'm excited to see what they do this summer. I hope they make the right decisions. I hope they build around Dillon Brooks and John Morant. I think that duo has the potential to be really special in this league. I hope we continue to see more. You guys have a great rest of your day. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys in the next one.